Effective classroom teaching begins with skillful classroom management. Classroom management includes how you organize classroom resources, as well as your methods for interacting with learners. Good classroom management skills are useful to any class setting. We introduced the essentials of lesson planning in the previous video in this series, Lesson Planning for the EMI Classroom. We discussed how to sequence and time activities, how to plan simple instructions and student interactions. Planning how to manage your classroom and its resources should also feature in your lesson plan in the overview. This video will outline classroom management techniques and language to facilitate a well-planned lesson. Command of classroom management will enhance your lesson's organization, coherence, and flow. These techniques and language are so fundamental, every teacher should strive to internalize them. That's why we refer to good classroom management techniques as habits. This video will focus on how you can most effectively manage classroom resources to be clear and comprehensible to students. Classroom resources include the seating arrangement, the whiteboard, your posture, voice, and expression, your gestures, and of course, the words you choose to say. This video will suggest effective ways to utilize all of these resources in the EMI classroom. By using these techniques, you will manage student expectations throughout the lesson. You will be better able to deliver varied lessons with interesting activities and promote constructive student interaction and peer instruction. While these habits may seem simple, many teachers overlook their importance. They unknowingly fill their lectures with excessive talk, confusing or inappropriate use of resources, inconsistent gestures, and unclear transitions. Let's look at some simple examples of inattentive classroom management.
The impact of the flag tax on Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania has created economic problems in these countries. Some question whether the flag tax or the execution of the flag tax is to blame. So, now I will start talking about the flag tax. I will now ask you to please discuss in your law. Why are you waiting? I told you to discuss the flag tax in your law.
Then, did you figure out the concept of flat tax? Flat tax. Should we talk about the pros of flat tax?
Now, then you have discussed the flag tax. Let's have a student debate. You argue for the flag tax. You argue against the flag tax, okay? Why is the flag tax a good idea? Yes.
Because it's simpler. It's the same for everyone and no double taxation.
Yes, okay. This side. Yes, over there.
It's unfair to low-income people, and they have less money to pay tax compared to high-income people.
Good. Well, any other points? I will continue. Indirective tags are often called regressive tags. The informal tax people same amount regardless of income. Example of regressive tax include value-added tax, also called sales tax, and penalty tax, like sin tax. Okay, class is over. So, see you next time.
In the previous example, the teacher uses poor classroom management. Poor classroom management habits can lead to inattention, dissatisfaction, and confusion amongst learners. Such feelings can lead to discipline problems. Let's examine this teacher's poor classroom management habits in detail. We can notice that the teacher does not have her own attention on students. Her posture is closed. She makes no eye contact with students, even turning her back on them for long periods of time. Students may feel that the teacher makes no effort to connect with them. Her voice lacks enthusiasm or energy, and her facial expression is blank. She does not seem interested in the topic at all. If her physical resources suggest that she does not care about the topic, students may well ask, why should they? What's more, her efforts to interact show lack of planning. Student interaction is awkward or forced. She has not arranged seating effectively for group discussion or for debate, and gives unclear instructions about how to proceed. She spends long periods writing at the board, a waste of learning time. When she uses gestures, they are inconsistent, in this case actually indicating different meanings with the same gesture. She offers no indication either physically, verbally, or in writing the progress of the lesson, movement from one topic to another, or the conclusion. Students are given no indication of content, process, or progress. Finally, she includes unfamiliar vocabulary in her lecture with no explanation or acknowledgement, relying solely on students' English listening skill and prior knowledge of words. Yet, students likely have limited exposure to such vocabulary, and listening is one of the most challenging language skills to master. At this point, it should be understandable that students feel a lack of interest and engagement. Poor classroom management habits obstruct their learning. On the other hand, good classroom management habits demonstrate leadership and control while giving students a structured way to interact and engage. By managing classroom resources effectively, you facilitate a lesson that is well organized, interactive, smooth running, and in the teacher's control. You establish patterns of interaction that students can rely on for each teaching stage and the lesson overall. Such consistency is reassuring for learners in an EMI classroom and encourages them to be responsive. Let's examine the specific techniques for good classroom management. Good classroom management demonstrates preparation, organization, and control of classroom resources. First, seating arrangements should be planned for each lesson. If you plan student-to-student interaction, and you should, the seating arrangement should be appropriate for the activity. Lecture-style seating arrangements are not conducive to student interaction or peer instruction. In fixed arrangement classrooms, try asking students to turn around for discussion or use informal standing and sitting combinations. Next, organize whiteboard space using a consistent grid for every lesson. Include your whiteboard plan in your lesson plan overview. Students will come to recognize where they find information according to the grid. If you must erase whiteboard notations during the lesson, photograph the whiteboard during stages and upload it to eClass. Write key vocabulary on the whiteboard and check for understanding. This is called a written record and helps students whose English listening ability is limited. Review key vocabulary at the close of the lesson. Text should be written in neat, large, upper and lower case printing, not cursive, about the size of your hand in order to be legible for an entire class. Use a fresh pen. Pause before and after giving instructions and mime instructions where appropriate. When using gestures to indicate content meaning, make sure that you plan unique gestures and use them consistently. If gestures are not completely clear, use a whiteboard diagram instead. Signpost transition points in the lecture with consistent phrases, an outline, and even silence. Include checking for understanding. Have a consistent approach to bookending each lesson. Set students' expectations for the class in the beginning, and close the lesson with a clear indication of next steps, homework, and any other important syllabus information. Good classroom management habits are not intrusive. After several classes, students should barely notice them. But students will feel that the class is well organized and runs smoothly. This will give you the control to try more varied activities and interactions. Students will soon know what to expect, where to look, and what to do. Students will feel at every moment that the teacher is in control, but not in the way. The following segment demonstrates techniques for good classroom management: how to arrange seating, organize and use the whiteboard, use your posture, eyes, voice, and expression, and include consistent gestures, and finally signpost and bookend lessons in the EMI classroom. Let's see how an experienced EMI teacher does it.
Everyone attention please. So last time our topic was?
Progressive taxation.
That's correct, progressive taxation. Who can define progressive taxation for the class? Talk in pairs. I'll ask a random student in 30 seconds.
No, I'm confused about the.
Okay, time's up. Progressive taxation, and over here.
That means you pay more tax the more money you earn.
Yes, basically in progressive tax, taxes paid increases as income increases. Last time we covered progressive tax. Today we'll cover regressive tax. Specifically, I'll talk about 3 kinds of regressive taxes: poll tax, sin tax, and flat tax. Afterwards, we will summarize them. Now we will have our left side versus our right side debates before class is over. Left side, you're being easily beaten by the right side. Let's hope you can do better today. So these poor Estonians, 24% tax and not enough money to pay for their government bills. You can see there are pros and cons of a flat tax. Now that we've talked about poll tax, sin tax, and flat tax, let's choose one of them to debate. Right side, since you won the last 3 debates, which tax do you want to debate?
Syntax.
Okay, sin taxes it is. Students, get in position. Right side, you're going to argue for syntaxes, why syntaxes are good. Left side, you're going to argue against syntaxes. 3 minutes to prepare. Go. can you post that up today? Sure. Thanks. Today we've discussed 3 kinds of regressive taxes. They are sin tax and
Poll tax.
and
Flat tax.
excellent. Quiz questions. The pros and cons of all regressive taxes and the pros and cons of all progressive taxes will be included on our next quiz. Our next class topic will be about how Apple pays less than 10% tax worldwide on the $34 billion it makes. That's less than half of what they will pay. Seem unfair? Next class, the topic will be on global tax issues. Read chapter 12 before our next class. And finally, same as every week, post any further questions on
E-class.
answer a student's question on E-class and get a chance to earn extra credit. Have a good day and I will see you in our next class.
Our professor has used good classroom management habits to underscore his teaching points and facilitate an organized, varied, smooth-running lesson. He established clear guidelines for particular activities and their seating arrangements so that students immediately knew what to do when changing activities.
Students, get in position.
He organized his use of the whiteboard, writing neatly and clearly in designated areas before and during the lesson. He used an open posture, eye contact with individual students, varied intonation and enthusiasm, and facial energy and expression to convey meaning.
So these poor Estonians, 24% tax and not enough money to pay for their government bills.
He planned his gestures and used them consistently throughout the class to echo progress, process, content, and desired behavior.
You can see there are pros and cons of a flat tax. Today we've discussed 3 kinds of regressive taxes. They are sin tax and
Poll tax.
He verbally signposted lesson process, topic transitions, and important information to signal student awareness.
Last time we covered progressive tax. Today we'll cover regressive tax. Specifically, I'll talk about 3 kinds of regressive taxes: poll tax, sin tax, and flat tax. Afterwards, we will summarize them. Quiz questions. The pros and cons of all regressive taxes and the pros and cons of all progressive taxes will be included on our next quiz.
And finally, he bookended the start and finish of the lesson with consistent phrases and techniques. He reviewed the previous lesson and checked for understanding, and he previewed the next lesson, including a lead-in to generate student interest.
Next class, the topic will be on global tax issues. Read chapter 12 before our next class. And finally, same as every week, post any further questions on
E-class.
answer a student's question on E-class and get a chance to earn extra credit. Have a good day and I will see you in our next class.
These techniques complement a well-planned lesson. They facilitate variety of activities. Let's review his technique.
And we'll continue our left side versus right side debates. Students, get in position. Today we've discussed 3 kinds of regressive taxes. They are So these poor Estonians, 24% tax and not enough money to pay for their government bills. Specifically, I'll talk about 3 kinds of regressive taxes: poll tax, sin tax, and flat tax. There are pros and cons of a flat tax. Tax paid increases as income increases. Today, we will cover regressive tax. I will cover 3 specific areas and then summarize. Now that we've talked about poll tax, sin tax, and flat tax, let's choose one of them to debate. Quiz questions. Everyone, attention. Last time our topic was... Next class, our topic is about...
Now let's see these techniques in action in the classroom.
Good day, everyone. Today's topic is global tax issue. But first, let's review last class. Last class, our topic was
Regressive taxation.
That's right. Regressive taxation. Now, in a minute, I will ask random students. Turn and face your group of 4. Group on the right, your government. Group on the middle, your global company. Group on the left, your household. In your group, list the implication of the global tax issue on this worksheet. Right, government. Middle, global company. Left, household. Right on this worksheet. So you can see in an online world, international tax compliance is a huge spot, mainly for small companies. Those who can afford the top accountant's firm pay a very low effective tax rate. Is it fair? What do you think? Is it fair? You posted up today? Thank you. Today we will discuss global tax issue, including compliance and transfer pricing. Let's summarize the effect on the board. And that's it for global tax issue and the topic of taxation. Homework. Everyone homework as review chapter 10, 11, 12. Next class topic is
Tax review.
That's right. Tax review before the quiz, which is
April 17.
Tuesday, April 17. Have a good day and see you next class.
We've seen how good classroom management habits can facilitate an organized, interactive, smooth-running lesson that is in your control. Good habits are not intrusive. They simply become part of your class process. All it takes is effective use of all your classroom resources: seating, whiteboard, your physical resources, and what you say. Good classroom management habits include arranging seating for the activity. Get students to recognize the seating required for each kind of activity so they can prepare quickly. Organizing the whiteboard space before class, planning your use of the whiteboard, and writing neatly and clearly so all students can see. Include a written record of important terms, concepts, and information on the board, and capture it before class is over. Good classroom management includes using your physical resources to convey meaning and importance. Use an open posture, make eye contact with individual students. Vary your intonation, and show energy with your voice and facial expression. Plan your gestures and use them consistently. Where gestures are not completely clear in meaning, use the board instead. Finally, signpost the lesson process, transitions between topics, and important information, and bookend the start and finish of the lesson with consistent phrases and techniques. It is especially helpful to review key points from the previous lesson and preview interesting aspects of the next lesson to maintain student interest. By repeating these good classroom management techniques so they become habits, you will see improved attention and discipline, improved satisfaction and participation, and enhanced learning outcomes from your entire class. Left side versus right side activity. You can stand or sit. Turn around in your chairs, starting in the first row, talk in groups of 4. Discuss in pairs. Move the desks into a U shape, like this. Turn the desks to face each other, starting with the first row. Move to the corner of the room according to your view of the topic. Today's lesson is in 3 parts. First, today our main topic is, now that we have talked about, let's move on to, that ends our discussion of, our next topic is, I have introduced, I'll expand more on it now. I'll elaborate more on that point later in this lesson. As I mentioned earlier, everyone, remember this point. It is important to note that if you remember one thing about this topic, remember that today we will discuss, in today's lesson we will cover, before we end class today, let's review one more time. Today's important topics were, next class topic is, the next class will answer the question, before next class, please review, homework for next class is,